Live, First Alert 4 starts now.
Now at 4:30, severe storms hitting the south, killing at least one person in Mississippi and causing devastating damage in other Gulf states. In parts of Louisiana and Texas, at least 200,000 are without power after heavy rain and winds rolled through. An EF2 tornado has been confirmed in Louisiana, and states east of there are now getting hit with that severe weather. A new study finds suicide rates for college athletes has doubled in 20 years. The British Journal of Sports Medicine says it's now the second leading cause of death in those playing university sports, surpassed only by accident. However, researchers can't pin down a direct cause for the increase. Investigators looking into the cause of the deadly bridge collapse in Baltimore are focusing on the electrical power system of the ship that collided with the bridge. The Dolly lost power moments before the crash. Investigators hope the data gives them some pathway to an explanation. Retirement, you won't like it. A day of red on Wall Street amid a slew of sell-offs because of new inflation data. The Dow closed 422 points lower after a surprisingly bad inflation report. The Bureau of Labor Statistics says the inflation increased 3.5% over the 12 months ending in March. So many thought we had started to tamp down inflation. So the question tonight, what exactly do these numbers mean? First Alert 4's Caroline Hecker joining us now with a look at those new numbers, specifically in the housing market you looked at today. Caroline, what do people at home need to know?
Well, we all know it's been absolutely crazy, especially you've been in the housing market as of late. However, people are getting creative with so little inventory. Buyers, again, having to get a little desperate, creative too, waiving inspections, contingencies, and making offers way over asking price. The bad news, though, coming out of today's report, future home buyers may want to wait a little bit longer. Many economists predicted the Fed would lower interest rates this year, and with mortgage rates around 7% right now for a 30-year fixed rate, you're spending more money for less house, even, that is, if you can find one. So here's some insight from the president of Central Bank of St. Louis.
Any sort of expectation from the Fed to lower rates may be pushed back. So in terms of timing, it may be July, it may be later in the year. And we're probably not going to see as many rate cuts as we have expected from some of the economists' predictions in the past.
And Caroline, what are you seeing specifically when it comes to people who are renting? A lot of times that's another option for people who maybe can't afford to buy a house at the time. So are people choosing to wait out the craziness of the housing market?
We are seeing a lot of people renting right now to do just that.
Right.
They can't afford to buy into the housing market, so they're renting. But keep in mind, it's important, once rates come down, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be easier to get a house, because now you're going to have more competition amongst buyers. Everybody wants that low rate. So it's a really tricky time to decide when to pull the trigger.
You kind of just have to weigh your pros and cons personally and figure out what works best for you. All right, Caroline, thank you. CDC data shows black women are 3 times more likely to die from a pregnancy-related cause than white women. During Black Maternal Health Week this week, St. Louis is growing efforts to fight that very problem. The city, SSM Health, and other groups updated us today on what's being done to fight statistics, from mental health to transportation, helping moms get to an appointment.
The way that medicine looks needs to change. And what this reflects today is what is needed, is when physicians work alongside and respect the voices and leadership of our doulas, our social workers, our CHWs, our nurses. So I celebrate all of the leadership today and hope to see it better integrated in our spaces.
City Health Department is promoting the showing of a documentary called Sister Doula to Help. A doula guides a woman through pregnancy. A screening will be held tomorrow at 6:30 at 5535 Delmar in the Delmar Divine District. Well, we all know drinking water is important, and most of us assume what we're drinking is safe, right? But PFA chemicals are in our tap water, even in our bottled water. So new here at 4:30, CBS's Michael George fills us in on the new rule the EPA is using to fight those harmful chemicals.
The EPA announced a new national drinking water standard to protect Americans from toxic chemical pollution.
It'll prevent thousands of deaths, reduce tens of thousands of serious illnesses.
The new EPA rule requires water systems to monitor, reduce, and report high levels of 6 of the most common and toxic chemicals known as PFAS, or forever chemicals.
PFAS are called forever chemicals because no one has been able to measure their half-life in the environment. They don't occur naturally, and so nature has not come up with a way of breaking them down.
Exposure to high levels of these chemicals has been linked to cancers, liver and heart issues, and developmental issues for infants and children.
You can't smell these chemicals, you can't taste them, you can't see them at levels that are dangerous to your health. So that's why these new rules are so important.
This is the first ever national legally enforceable drinking water standard. The EPA estimates it'll reduce PFAS exposure for approximately 100 million Americans. There are about 15,000 different types of these human-made chemicals. They're used in everyday products, including food packaging, nonstick cookware, cosmetics, and other personal care products. The EPA estimates 6 to 10% of the 66,000 public drinking water systems in the country will likely need to make changes to meet the new standards. Michael George, CBS News.
The EPA is sending out nearly $1 billion in funding to help states and territories meet those new standards. Funding is coming to an end for a program that helps millions of low-income Americans afford high-speed internet. The Affordable Connectivity Program, or ACP, is set to run out of funding by the end of this month of April if Congress does not approve new funding for it. The ACP provides monthly $30 discounts on internet service for low-income households. But in May, the FCC says that'll drop to $14 a month. In anticipation of the cuts, the FCC has halted new program signups, and it's ordering internet providers to begin informing customers about the potential end to the program. That funding loss will impact many in Missouri and Illinois. We know in Missouri, more than 390,000 households are enrolled in the program that helps them afford internet. According to the White House, that's 1 in 6 households. Over in Illinois, more than 700,000 households use the program. That is 1 in 7 households. We told you yesterday at 4, the FAA is investigating Boeing after one of its workers stepped forward about safety concerns. Well, now we're hearing from that engineer who says 777 jets could have damaged parts. He also says the 787s could have improperly closed gaps in their bodies, and airlines might not know to check for related hazards. These models are not the same as the Boeing plane that had that mid-air plug blowout in January, but that incident was just the start of the scrutiny that Boeing is facing. The whistleblower's attorney claims Boeing's retaliated after he went to the FAA.
I'm doing this not because I want Boeing to fail, but because I want it to succeed and prevent the crashes from happening.
Boeing disputes those allegations. The Senate committee is holding a hearing about the concerns with Boeing next week. But Kent, we obviously have a good blanket of rain that we got to talk about here.
Not a great day.
Not really.
We didn't do a good job with this one. We're going to try harder
Hey, you got
tomorrow.
the eclipse right.
It's all right.
You can do this one.
That's right.
Yeah.
But a lot of rain today and still more on the way. In fact, some of the heaviest on the way for tonight and into tomorrow morning. Then things change a little bit. We'll talk about that and the big warm-up that's on the way for the weekend. Your first alert forecast is right around the corner.
Are you a national park aficionado? Well, soon you'll have the opportunity to visit them for free. We'll tell you how right after the break.